Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc!
Welcome to Negative Camber, the motorsport show, brought to you by ProKarts Race Centre.
Far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside.
The ultimate pit stop.
The safety car is coming in.
Fueling your passion for motorsport.
With an emotional moment that means everything.
All of the latest results, analysis, and interviews.
Roar the drivers on to the final lap of this race.
I'm Jamie Lemura, motorsport enthusiast, historian, and media presenter.
And I'm Lee Harrison, motorsport professional, Sprint Master Karts race driver, and Formula One alumni.
Welcome back to Negative Camber, the motorsport show. We were covering the Japanese Grand Prix. We were talking about trophies left on mantelpieces and significance and all that sort of stuff. And during the break, we were kind of finishing off that conversation. But as I was saying before, in my case, it was more of a reminder of what could have been rather than anything else. But I honestly, more often than not, subconsciously, I know that it's there, but I don't know that medal's there on many occasions. It kind of is my mindset, but. In your case, you know that they're there, but it's a different feeling.
Yeah, well, I put them out on display because I'm obviously proud of what I've done, and it's actually a good talking point when people come over and visit as well. So a few coloured plates up there as well definitely help the conversation and that sort of stuff. And whenever I jump into the sim room like Max does, I'm sure we're speaking on completely different levels, comparing a World Drivers' Championship trophy to a 4SS State Cup or something like that. But it's always good to sit down and appreciate them, and every trophy tells a story as well. So they're there for me to recall upon. Yeah,
and my go-kart racing trophies, the kids have a few of them, but others I've kept in a box mainly because I don't have the room to display them. One day, eventually, I will. But you know what, though, man? At the end of the day, a championship is one thing. That's a grand scale. But, we're only local races, so the 4SS state title would be the same kind of principle in terms of that sense of pride and accomplishment on a on a micro scale in particular.
If you say so.
Yeah,
you say so.
No, you draw the inspiration from it, same thing. So, hey, you know what? With some of the technical stuff they were talking about in V8 supercars today, there's the way that you drive a supercar in terms of the fixed axle and all that sort of stuff. It's so relevant with karting right at the moment. So the link is closer than what you think.
100%.
Back
to the Japanese Grand Prix we were discussing, where we got very, very off track and sidetracked.
We sound like two old men in a retirement home, don't we?
Speak for yourself.
Back on all day. Hey, you've nearly got as many greys as me now. So now, if you were Liam Lawson, and we may have touched on this before, but how would you be feeling right now?
We did definitely discuss this before. I would be feeling a bit miffed and a bit upset, but as long as we don't know what conversations have gone on in the background, so I think that as long as there's a plan in place, like we've said this a million times as well now, like Perez really needs to pull his socks up, because if he doesn't, and they're going to keep him around for the rest of the races this year as a minimum, and it doesn't get any better, Liam could still find himself in a race seat pretty quickly next year. He's got, Perez is not pulling his weight at the moment. McLaren are coming. They're showing some good speed. So, as we saw with Oscar and Lando's double podium in the race in Japan. Perez really needs to pull his socks up. So I'm sure there's a plan in place for Liam, and one that he's agreed upon and is happy with. And what that looks like, who knows? But he has been doing a good job in his first few races in Formula One. It all sort of went a little bit pear-shaped for him in the sprint race this morning. He would be going all right.
I also think that as a sport in general, why have we developed this need to rush talent at such a young age in major seats? Like, he's not even 20 years old. Yeah. I completely forgot. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I'd heard that Paul Dumbrell was racing the Bathurst 1000 at 16 years old.
Yeah, well, I don't think they're trying to rush the talent. They're just trying to put the talent where it needs to be at the right age. Like, you look at Max Verstappen, he was like 15 or whatever when he jumped into Formula One, and what that's done for him now as well. So if the time's right, the time's right. There's definitely, it's just a shame for Liam that he's in with the Red Bull family, that, it's such a a fight for seats in that family, and they've got 4 seats, I suppose, where they can put people, but they're all occupied. So he's obviously come in and shown that he can drive and be competitive in Formula One. We wouldn't be having this conversation if he couldn't drive. So that's probably the thing that he's got going for him. So he'll end up in a seat though. I don't think they're trying to rush him. I think he's proven that he's ready to go. They just can't find him a seat.
Yeah, and I think let's fast forward and get to Qatar now. And obviously, in the last couple of weeks, we've had news that Andretti, as a team with Cadillac as their power plant, have been approved by the FIA to enter the Formula One Championship in 2026. And now that they're going through the next stage of getting the seal of approval to join the series, there's 2 trains of thoughts, isn't there? There's the team's aspect of it, where they don't see the series needing to get any bigger, whereas, we've talked about it in the past. I think they need to add some more bums on seats, to be honest.
Yeah, but the team's thing isn't because they don't want more people in the sport. They just don't want to dilute the prize pool money by adding another team, because they all love getting their little piece of the pie at the end of the season of however many points they score, because that's the way the Formula One points work, and the payout works. Is the more points you score, is you get a set amount of dollars for every point that you score. So if that gets diluted with another team coming in, then every team's going to lose potentially a little piece of money. Now, are Andretti going to come in and start scoring points straight away? Who knows? Probably not. But yeah, it will add to the excitement for the fans with 22 cars. I honestly think that there should be no less than 26 cars on the grid. And to hear that there was 9 teams that put in an application to join Formula One, obviously some of them are going to be pipe dreams and not viable situations, which is why the FIA are there to vet them first. But yeah, there was a couple of good entries from Road and another company as well. But if all 3 of the companies could have got in and started building cars for 2026, that would have been good for the sport.
It's interesting to see how there was a period there that there were no new teams that showed interest, but then you'd had it's always swings around about some peaks and troughs. I mean, you had Toyota come through at one point. You've had obviously Haas, and they came through. Then you had other teams like in the 90s, for example. Like, remember MasterCard Lola? Mm-hmm. That was two Grand Prix it lasted, and that was the end of that. Yeah. So everyone's now trying to cash in on the boom. That Formula One is in at the moment. But there's been reports at the moment where the TV ratings are starting to drop.
Yeah, it's always going to be the way, though, when someone is dominating the series. Like, if you're not a true Formula One fan, and there's domination versus, the battle that we saw with Max and Lewis in 21. There's the drive to survive hype will get you hyped for the start of the year, but then there's no follow on from that. Like the season needs to tell a story, and when Max is winning by so much, and the story is being told pretty early on who's going to win the championship, all those casual F1 viewers will wane, and they'll go and find something else to do. Especially if they're from Australia and they've got to stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever to watch it. That's not going to happen. So, but you'll see the return of the TV ratings again, because they'll do another Drive to Survive at the end. In January, getting us ready for February, March launch, and the TV ratings will pick back up. So Las Vegas will be a big boom, so that'll help with the American market as well. So to have an American team in Formula One is going to be huge for them. I think they'll do really well in terms of popularity vote. But it'll be interesting to see how long they last. You speak of teams like Spiker and Manor F1 and Caterham and stuff like that came in and have vanished. Hopefully, it's not the same for Andretti Autosport.
Yeah, exactly. And look, Michael Andretti and the Andretti family don't do things by halves, and when you've got General Motors as your major backer, in particular with an engine and that type of thing, and they're used to hybrid technology, if F1 still decide to go down that path, given the World Endurance Championship program that they've got, which surprising how there's not that much crossover. Like, Audi is still having to develop a completely different and separate motor, even though you would have thought that hybrid technology would have some element of crossover.
Yeah, I think the engine as well. Engines in the World Endurance Championship are more focused on the hybrid than they are the petrol bang power of the engine. And even IMSA, I suppose, as well, where Andretti race a fair bit with Cadillac, have got some hybrid units behind them as well. So, yeah, they've got some experience there. They should be a relatively decent outfit as long as they get some good staffing in there pretty quickly. And then you've got Ford and Cadillac facing off against each other in Formula One again as Ford get back into the sport as well with Red Bull powertrains.
What was your take on Lance Stroll and his performance on Friday and the meltdown that ensued shortly after?
I don't know if it was necessary, to be honest. Makes you look a little bit silly, and then to carry on like he did with the interview and not give very many answers is not very much of a good look for his team, for his dad who pays the bills. I'm sure there's going to be some harsh words at the end of the weekend between the family.
It'll be interesting, but has the Fernando effect on a teammate has probably been no more profound than what you're seeing with Lance, I would suggest. Just the complete meltdown, because he is a shadow of what he was 12 months ago in the same seat. I'm talking about Lance.
Yeah.
So, has the Fernando effect really started to impact him now? Because, look, Sebastian was in the honeymoon phase of his career, and I love Seb, and he had moments of brilliance, but, Lance was sometimes ahead of Seb in terms of performance. Yeah, on occasions. Yeah.
I don't know if that was... I still think it was fleeting against Seb as well, so I still would have put Sebastian a long way ahead of Lance in terms of overall performance as teammates. So I think, maybe just that constant getting beaten is actually, and not being able to close the gap. Like, he actually hasn't even been able to close the gap to Alonso over the course of this whole year. So that'll be eating into him. And I guess we saw the outburst not making it out of Q1. We saw the outburst in Qatar come to fruition.
Which is normally not like Lance. He's normally a pretty sort of chilled dude. So to have that sort of meltdown was pretty profound. But then, he's pushing his personal trainer around. He's thrown the steering wheel, which has scratched the car. And not like he didn't do enough damage in Singapore, let's say. But, to then carry on like a petulant child when in the interview as well, it's pretty rough, But, you never saw that with any other driver that he's been co-driver with outside of the Fernando effect.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not cool. But we'll see what the race for him brings. He didn't do too great in the sprint race, so nothing's really changed for him much. But yeah.
How was the sprint race last night? So I know, obviously, run through the results if you've got them, but if you watched them, so what was the overall consensus of the event up to that point?
Oh, it was an epic race. I'll read through the results and then we'll flash off to some highlights. So Oscar Piastri taking the win from Max Verstappen and Lando Norris in third, so another double podium there for the McLarens. George Russell in fourth from Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, Fernando Alonso, Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas. And like I said, it was an absolute stonker of a race, and we'll have some highlights for you now.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 red lights in Qatar, and the sprint race is go! Poor reaction time for Lando Norris. George Russell got the jump. He's going to be up to second place. Good chance as well for Sainz to the inside. Piastri holds the lead. Russell is up to second, but he's wide. It'll open the door. Verstappen is losing a hatful of places. George Russell's to the inside of Carlos Sainz. George Russell now takes second place. Oscar Piastri with the dream launch off the line, and the car off in the background there is one of the AlphaTauri spinning back, and it's Liam Lawson who's gone off the road on the first lap of 19. It's very dramatic stuff.
Turns it into 2. He just loses it on his own.
Oh, no way. That's a rare mistake. Piastri has a restart to deal with. He's got George Russell for company. And remember, the soft tyres will fire up quicker than the yellow mediums. Piastri on the yellow mediums, Russell on the soft, and so are the Ferraris behind. We are racing once again. Fernando Alonso in the green Aston Martin has a great opportunity as we go to turn 1. How brave is he feeling to the inside of the corner? Well, it was very brave. But Norris, well, he hung on and he's kept the place. He's in 6th.
It was braver for Norris to hang on around the outside on those mediums there, turning in on Fernando, who looked pretty committed. The soft tyres are still working. Lando goes defensive up to 4.
Alonso again to the inside, and Norris hangs on, but he'll be wide through that corner. Will they make it through? Alonso with the nose ahead. These two, corner after corner, still battling, and George Russell takes the lead. Both McLarens on the back foot, and Russell on the soft tyres fights away through. through. This race could yet come back to Oscar Piastri on the mediums, but what a gamble for George Russell, who started 4th on the grid and now holds the lead.
Let's see at what point. Oh, he nails it on the brakes. Talk about brave. That was one of those, what we call a block pass. Send it and then sort it out.
Sargent off into the gravel. The safety car is deployed again. Carlos Sainz closing in. That red wall, soft tyre, easier to fire up, and he's all over the back of Piastri as we go back to racing conditions. Piastri knows it, goes to the dusty part of the racetrack in defence, and the Ferrari just has better grip. Will he go around the outside and take second position? Piastri tries to hang on. Piastri gets his elbows out and maintains second for the moment. Max Verstappen is the driver on the move here. He's got DRS. Fastest lap of the race just went the way of the Australian rookie. But it's Max Verstappen on the charge, looking to seal things with another victory. He's got a little bit of progress to make, but he's got that medium tyre, and now he's got possession of 4th. He's going to get the slipstream. He's going to get the place. 10 laps to go, and it's another pass for Verstappen.
Top runner starting to struggle now. This race is going to come back to us.
And this now is the battle for the lead. After a bold move at the hairpin for George Russell, we welcome back to the fight Oscar Piastri. Russell got the launch off the line. He then got the lead, but now he might be about to lose it. The Australian rookie driver ignores the defence from George Russell and takes the lead back of the sprint in just his 17th Grand Prix weekend. We are seeing the charge from Piastri, and it's not the only McLaren going the long way round, all the way round. What a superb pass from Lando Norris. Excellent stuff as he fights his way by, and the soft tyre is fading fast.
Well, absolutely brilliant contact. That's Perez.
Perez off the road. He was racing Hulkenberg. He's in the gravel, and we might need a third safety car intervention. Well, Perez out confirms Max Verstappen as the champion of the world once again.
Bit of contact there. Puncture for Ocon immediately, and that was him spinning into Perez.
They sandwiched me.
Hulkenberg, who scored points last in Formula 1 in a sprint race, trying to take the place back. He was on the medium tyre. Ocon's softs were fading. Ocon always defends for all he's worth. Perez trying to take them both 3 into 1. Does not go. Out goes Perez. Out goes Ocon.
Yeah, look, Ocon has come across, and if you had to apportion blame, you could say that was a racing incident, but in the end of the day, Ocon's come across. He's expecting Hulkenberg to back out, and on this occasion, he hasn't.
And the green flag flies once again. Piastri desperately trying to take us back to green flag conditions by using all of the road and a bit more. And there's a good launch off the final corner for one of the Ferraris in the background of Charles Leclerc, who dips out of it and tries to take Lando Norris back. But the medium tyre will now fire up, and it's a great restart for Piastri as Leclerc manages to fight back on the old soft tyres, and he's up to 5th. George Russell was passed down into turn number 1. Will it be the rookie taking his first Formula 1 victory of any description? Will it be Max Verstappen sealing the title on the top step? Here's the chance for Lando to retake the 5th place that he lost. Right now, with both tyres into the working window, there's no contest down into turn 1. He's not just thinking about getting past one Ferrari, he's thinking about getting both Ferraris, and he was on the dust trying to avoid hitting his old teammate. These two work together brilliantly for Sainz to take victory in Singapore, but it's surely just a matter of time before Norris sends it around the outside to take 4th.
I think Carlos is struggling.
Copy that.
And these two old masters about to go wheel to wheel once again. Hamilton getting the inside line. Hamilton getting the place. The World Championship is already over. Hamilton is trying to get past. That's one Mercedes on the attack. The other one is trying to defend, but it's Lando Norris who returns to the top 3 and gets past George Russell on the final tour of the sprint.
Hamilton's up to 6th as well, and Albon's going to get a point for Williams at the moment, maybe even more, because the Ferraris are tumbling down. This is Hamilton. Some pretty good points for Lewis, actually, given where he started in this one.
And on a day where Max Verstappen has become a 3-time champion of the world, we are seeing another chapter begun. Oscar Piastri is on his way to victory in Formula One in his rookie season at his 17th Grand Prix weekend. Oscar Piastri has done the job brilliantly. The Australian driver will see the checkered flag first. Oscar Piastri wins the sprint to take McLaren to the top step once again. What a performance from the Australian driver, and Max Verstappen is the world champion of 2023. He is champion of the world for the 3rd time.
Max, you are a 3-time world champion. That's unbelievable, mate. Absolutely unbelievable. It's been an incredible year for you.
Yeah, unbelievable, guys. Incredible year. I mean, thank you for providing me with such a car. It's been a pleasure so far this year.
Very nicely done, everyone. Thank you. Very, very well managed. And yes, thanks for the toys updates as well.
We all knew it was coming, but it's a special moment when the title is sealed and he's on top of the car as the champion of the world for the 3rd time. And he's into the arms of the team that have given him a rocket ship, and how he has used it brilliantly. And a result to savour for the Piastri family. First place in the sprint for Oscar Piastri. Max Verstappen confirming the title mid-race after Perez retired, and Lando Norris completing the top 3.
Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners.
Ready to turn your karting dreams into reality? Look no further than Pro Karts Race Centre. Imagine hitting the track in the kart of your dreams, a ride that matches your budget and aspirations perfectly. With our pre-loved kart sourcing service, we make it happen. Our experienced team isn't just about mechanics, they're dream builders. We meticulously hand-pick each kart, ensuring reliability, performance, and sheer exhilaration. Whether you're a seasoned racer looking for an upgrade or a newcomer stepping into the world of karting, we're your pit crew, your partners in racing dreams. Get ready to feel the wind in your hair, the thrill in your heart, and the victory at your fingertips with Pro Karts Race Centre, where dreams truly come to life. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Paraka. Pro Karts Race Centre, fueling your dreams, igniting your potential.
Congratulations to Max Verstappen on winning his 3rd driver's title. Kind of feels weird that you're saying it on a Saturday.
Well, we're saying it on a Sunday.
Well, true. But how do you feel for Lando Norris that the first 2 victories that have happened since he's joined the team have both been by Australian drivers?
Yeah, not even just that they're Australian, just not him. When he's the one that's been carrying the team for so long as well. But well, let's see what happens tonight in the race. There's all the tyre dramas as well, so it could be an interesting race. Hopefully, there's some news on that in the next sort of hour or so that we can share. And looking forward. If they mandate a 3-stop race and 20-lap maximum on the tyres because of their potential for failure, then that opens up a whole world of strategies, and there's going to be an awesome race because tyre deg, they're not going to be worried about that. They're just going to be going hammer and tongs for the whole race.
Well, yeah, and look, for listeners there that are probably not really aware of what we're talking about, shortly after the qualifying and practice sessions on the Friday, Pirelli approached the FIA and detected some severe tyre issues that was being caused by the cars running off turns
12 and 13
on the track. So what were the key issues, and what was the mandate by the FIA, which partially touched on, but what was the cause?
Basically, the exit curbs on turns 12 and 13 are a 50mm high pyramid-shaped curb, so on the back side of the curb. So when the cars are dropping the outside wheel off the edge of the track, the curb at the back edge of the curb is smashing, and they're running right up against that on the sidewall of the tyre. So they've said it's like if you imagine having a tyre sitting there and all pumped up and under load. You take a hammer with a triangulated point on the end of it, and then smash it against the sidewall of the tyre 100 times a second over and over and over again. So what they were seeing was stress fractures in the sidewall and the carcass of the tyre, which over a certain amount of time could lead to blowouts or air pressure loss. Which, I mean, to me, that sounds like an amazing case of we're racing Formula One and these things can happen. So here's, they've put a solution in place, which was to move the track limits and make the track limit, I think it was like 0.8 of a metre, so 80 centimetres narrower on the exit of those corners, to try and encourage the cars to stay inside of that drop off of the curb. But Formula One drivers being Formula One drivers, they're not going to listen to the white line if they don't have to. So
they'll push the limit.
They'll push the limit. They were going to reassess after the sprint race and put out a statement this afternoon in Qatar time about whether or not they're going to mandate a 3-stop race and a 20-lap maximum on the tyre to stop any risk of those failures. And the degradation there was absolutely huge. You heard that in the highlights there of the sprint race where, some of the soft tyre runners got an awesome start and led the race early on while Piastri and Norris and Verstappen fell backwards a little bit. But after about lap 11, those soft tyres were absolutely spent and the medium runners absolutely had a huge advantage. So, it'll be interesting to see. I'm all for it. All for it either way. Like, if there's the risk of any tyre failures or whatever, then the risk is there that it could make the race interesting due to failure or whatever. But also, if the strategy is mandated at 3 stops, then that'll be excellent too.
Take me back to the days of when you had refueling in a way, but you're not refueling. You just got 3 sets of tyres that you can actually run flat out with.
Yeah, and
then you can make you got a fresh set of boots the whole time. So I guess it really boils down to how you want to take your poison. Do you want to run the risk and potentially, lose a race because of a tyre blowout and get mechanical failure and all that sort of stuff? Or do you... I'd probably go option B, and that's run the shorter stints with fresher tyres and just go hell for leather. Yeah,
and the reason that they sort of mandated it rather than saying every 20 laps they have to change tyres or 18 laps or something like that, because the race is 57 laps, that they gave that lap window was because otherwise then everyone would come into the pits all at once and there wouldn't really be a strategy.
Yeah.
We're providing them with this little window. It actually opens up the strategy a little bit for teams to maybe stop a little bit earlier, try and run a little bit longer and do some undercut stuff. So really interesting. Can't wait to hear what comes out of the meeting this afternoon with Pirelli and the F1 teams, and we'll see what the race looks like in the morning. It's unfortunately a pretty early start for us, but I'll be up watching.
Yeah, it'd be. I reckon by the time we get back home from the studio, you'll probably have a fair idea as to what the outcome's going to be. If not, the decision will be made already. I'm sure there'll be a little app pop up on my phone telling me what F1 decides to do, but either way, as long as the race is entertaining and it has some element of unpredictability, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and out of that sprint race as well, we saw Perez have another mishap as well. So we talk about it from Japan, and we just don't stop talking about it. He's ended up in the gravel trap with a whole bunch of damage to repair for tonight. So yeah, he's got some work to do, and he's going to be hoping for a bit of a recovery drive tonight.
Yeah,
but he was out in Q1 as well, so or Q2. I think he qualified 13th.
Well, look, geez, what about Ferrari as well? How much they've struggled, especially going through turn 5 when you got the side wind. As soon as the side wind hits that car, they're off.
They're off. Yep.
So Carlos and Charles suffered, but then obviously there were some improvements in the sprint race in terms of performance. But if they can get a top 10 get a top 10 given the state of that car, that's probably a pretty good achievement, I would suggest.
Yeah, for sure. They've got Carlos is coming out of P12 tonight, and Leclerc did a little bit better. He'll be coming from P5, so some hope there. And they were two of the runners in the sprint race that started on the soft tyre, so they faded very, very early on in the race. So yeah, hopefully with a bit more rubber down there, tyre deg issues don't come back to hurt them. They seem to get again on top of it in Japan, which was good. So fingers crossed for them. They're on it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a good race though, and I'm Look, I'm glad that the F1 Championship's come to a conclusion, but kind of disappointed at the fact that the championship's over and there's, still another half a dozen races left to go. So he's hoping that the other teams can pull their socks up and we get some quality cars next year that can actually challenge Red Bull and at least give us a championship finale of equal to or the equivalent to what we were experiencing in 2021. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're off to a break. Then when we come back, we can take a trip around the world and talk about the Pecco Show and MotoGP.
A huge thank you goes out to our podium partner, Prokarts Race Centre, and our incredible sponsors. Your partnership allows us to continue bringing you this show and dive deeper into the world of motorsports. If your business adds value to the motorsport community, get in touch with us to become a Negative Camber partner.
Time to discover more than just a track. It's time to find your racing family at Prokarts Race Centre. We're more than a racing facility. We're a community of enthusiasts bound by our shared love for motorsport. What sets us apart? Our commitment to inclusivity. We're breaking barriers, welcoming rookies and pros alike to experience the thrill of racing. With our low investment pathways into karting, we're paving the way for the next generation of racers. Whether you're a seasoned racer seeking camaraderie or a beginner eager to learn, Prokarts Race Centre is your home. Join our vibrant community, feel the passion and share the rush of victory with friends who share your passion. Visit prokartsracecentre.com.au or pop in for a chat at 30 Research Road, Paraka. Prokarts Race Centre, fueling your passion, igniting your potential.
Now it's for our regular trip of around the world with Mr. Lee Harrison.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. We'll start off with NASCAR as usual, and another 2 races have been ticked off in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, with races held at Texas Motor Speedway and Talladega Superspeedway. In Texas, William Byron took the checkered flag, which saw him bring up the 300th win for his car owner Rick Hendrick. Kyle Larson had dominated the race until a side-by-side moment with Bubba Wallace, with less than 20 laps remaining, saw his car get sucked around and he spun and hit the wall, retiring from the race. Byron later pulled off a 3-wide pass on Wallace and Chase Briscoe and drove out to a commanding lead. He survived a late race resurgence by Ross Chastain, who finished second, just under 2 seconds adrift. In a spectacular finish to the Talladega race, it was Ryan Blaney who led home Kevin Harvick in a photo finish as multiple cars crashed around them. Harvick was later disqualified for a violation of Rule 14.5.6.2, which says that windshield fasteners must remain secure for an entire event. Officials discovered the number 4's windshield was found unsecure and the seal broken when they first saw the car in inspection. The championship is now at Charlotte Motor Speedway, racing on the road course. That race will take place early tomorrow morning, Monday morning, Australian time, which will see this being the final race of the current round of the playoffs. 4 more drivers will be eliminated after the race, which currently see Brad Keselowski, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace and Kyle Busch all on the bubble trying to make it through to the next round. John Hunter Nemechek and Sam Meyer won the Xfinity races, while Brett Moffitt was victorious in the Craftsman Truck Series. In World of Outlaws, 3 events have been held in the World of Outlaws series, with races held at Williams Grove Speedway and Port Royal Speedway. There were wins for Brad Sweet, Brent Marks and Tyler Courtney, as Sweet has held his championship lead over David Gravel at 82 points. Carson Macedo has held third, 134 points adrift, while Australia's James McFadden is sitting 11th in the points. In DTM news, Rene Rast has led a BMW 1-2 in the final race of the Red Bull Ring round at DTM. Rast led home teammate Sheldon van der Linde, while a puncture for Mirko Bortolotti lost him the championship lead. Thomas Praining now leads the championship by 10 points from Bortolotti, with Ricardo Feller a further 21 points behind, and they have 1 round of their championship left, which will be held at Hockenheim in 2 weeks' time. 2 races for Moto2 and Moto3, with races held in Suzuka and in Japan, and the first ever at Suzuka in Japan, and the first ever Indian MotoGP event held at the site of the previous F1 races, the Bud International Circuit. Pedro Acosta dominated a chaotic red-flagged 12-lap Moto2 race in India as the race was halted before the opening lap was completed when Jeremy Alcoba triggered a multi-rider pile-up at Turn 1. Acosta capitalised on early battling behind him to immediately pull away from the chasing pack. The AI KTM rider would ultimately get to the checkered flag 3.5 seconds clear of title rival Tony Arbolino to extend his points lead to 39. A surprisingly sedate 16-lap Moto3 Grand Prix kicked off the race action on Sunday, which saw Leopard Honda's Jaume Masia emerge as the runaway victor. Tyre rider Somercat Chantra scored only his second career win and his first of 2023 in a dominant display from pole position as he led every lap to a 1-2 for Honda Team Asia ahead of Ayagura. That was in the race held at Suzuka. Pedro Acosta, meanwhile, took a major step towards the title as he finished in third on a weekend to forget for chief title rival Tony Arbolino. In the earlier Moto3 race in Suzuka, Masia overhauled Daniel Holgado to take the lead. So that's in Motegi, wasn't it? Not Suzuka for MotoGP. Overhauled Daniel Holgado to take the lead of the championship with his third win of the season. Masia now leads the championship by 6 points from Sasaki, with Holgado slipping to third, 9 points off the lead. And in WRC news, Chile's return to the World Rally Championship calendar after a 4-year hiatus has been long awaited, and it didn't fail to disappoint as M Sport and Ott Tanak claimed a deserved victory. Tyre strategy was the big talking point, with the crews experiencing more abrasive roads than they had expected. M Sport were the only team to opt for 4 hard tyres, which turned out to be the platform to launch Tanak into a 42-second win over Thierry Neuville. With 2 rounds to go, Rovanpera holds a 31-point advantage over Elfyn Evans, and those two are the only 2 left in the championship race at this stage.
Yes, good to see there is a bit of a title fight in the WRC. It was about this time last year where the title was run and won. So, nice one, mate. Well done on another trip around the world. Good job.
Another successful flight.
And I didn't have to take quells, so that's good. We were not in a rocky state. Before we cover MotoGP, we actually had a question that popped in during the break, so thanks for that, Pete. Now, this will test you, actually, because it's got you're partly to do with it, but in a good way. Lee and I were talking about superstitions recently, and I said that I didn't have any. So in reflection, and I is being Lee, being Pete. So in reflection, I probably do. I always go to the same servo and pump when getting fuel. No real reason for it, but would feel weird if I didn't. So I'll start with you. What are your pre-race habits or superstitions? And for that matter, what are the other listeners?
Yeah, so I have a pretty crazy one that on race days, and even to a point practice day as well, I do everything with the right side of my body first. So when I wake up in the morning, I get out of bed and the first foot to hit the floor is my right foot. When I get into the shower, it's my right foot that goes in first. When I get out of the shower, it's the right. When I'm washing my body, it's the right side of my body that I wash first. The right foot gets out of the shower first, is dried first. It's the first foot and leg to go into my pants or my shorts. It's the first arm and shoulder to go into my T-shirt or jumper. When I get to the track, I get dressed in the same way. Right foot first, my right boot goes on. I get into the go-kart from the right side of the go-kart every time, so always from the engine side. Always everything from the right side first. When I'm getting out of the car, the right foot is the first foot to hit the ground. All of that. The only thing that I will not do, and this is into the superstition as well, is I won't put my right glove on first. I always put my left glove on first when I'm getting ready to go onto the track.
Okay, that's interesting. Was there ever an event or a moment that instigated that process?
I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but it's now the thing that I do every time that I go to the track. I think there was a period in like 2005, 2006 where I was going through a really, really good patch of results and sort of tried to put a focus on what's something I could do to try and leave that happening. And that was where that's where I properly started putting it in my mind that this is what it's going to be like from now on every time I go to the track. Yep. And it goes to the same thing, like even every time I go to do a coaching day, it's that way. If I go to coach at the Bend or anything like that, it's the same thing. So
Yeah, interesting. For me, I don't know whether it's superstition, but for me it's more habits or maybe even more rituals. So, for example, on a race day, I'll make sure that I wake up 3 hours before I need to get to the track, and I'll always make sure I have a clean shave, right? And when it's a shave, it's not just a quick splash of cream. It's like a full Barbary experience. So I'm talking cream, I'm talking lather, I'm talking cutthroat, I'm talking everything. Mainly because it's for me to get my iron in to get focused. So, honestly, so I've got like a proper cutthroat blade and all that sort of stuff, and I've got to really focus because if I go against the grain or if I take a nick, then all of a sudden I'm bleeding and it's really bad. So it just means that I'm eyes on. I've always make sure that I've got to have I always wear the same sort of team kit, so I'll have the same set of shorts and I'll have the same set of socks and all that sort of stuff. So that might be a superstition, but for me it's more of a presentation thing. And then, I always make sure I make sure that my race uniform is... That's actually more of an OCD thing, is that my race uniform is really clean. So no grease marks, or try and prevent that, make sure it's as much as possible. And then, like coming in... I always get into the go-kart from the right side, like you would. But I'm always left foot first. Like it always has to be left foot, which is really weird. So I'll go left foot, and then I'll cross over and go right foot, and then I'll sit down into the go-kart, but coming in from the right side. And then fuel is always the same servo and the same fuel, but that's only because, which is Shell, but that's only because the Shell servo is literally the first servo on my way out of the house heading out to Southerns. But then also, as pedantic and as silly as it sounds, it's also Shell because of Ferrari. So it's I kind of feel like I'm making my contribution that way, but outside of that, no, nothing. Not to the level of yours. So, and for me, I adapted the ritual piece when I was working at Tindo and understood all of a sudden the importance of having a ritual and a process, which was a way of me getting my head in the game for tackling a day of selling and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, the go-karting is the same thing, but it's more the preparation and all that sort of stuff as well, which I find, I think it's more of a ritual and a habit rather than, I did this because of that. I did have a superstition one with a helmet, where every time I wore a particular helmet, I felt that it always gave me bad luck. But that's kind of, sort of gone by the wayside now, so that's changed and everything else too. So, interesting. But outside of that... no, nothing else. So interesting that I didn't realise or never really paid a particular attention at just how pedantic's not the right word, but just how particular your process is.
Yeah, no,
we never picked it.
No, it's something that unless now that you know, you'll see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that actually drives me crazy, and if I don't do it, then I'll start again. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it's something like that you're conscious of.
Yeah,
wow.
It's almost like a I can't think. It's not an autistic thing, but the thing like you've got to touch the door 3 times or whatever before
OCD.
You can open OCD. It's almost like an OCD thing.
Yep. What about, so for me, I can't go to the track either practice or qualifying without my go-kart being like showroom.
Yeah.
And if it's not showroom, like I kind of it does my head in. So, and even between races, I mean, I probably should be doing it anyway, but in between races and stuff, I'm cleaning it, like I'm running rags over it, solvents, all that sort of stuff to make sure that every time I put it out on the grid, it looks A1. But again, is that a maintenance thing, or is that a habit, or is that a superstition thing? I kind of think that the cleaner the go-kart, the better it performs, type of thing.
Well, a clean go-kart's always a fast go-kart. So I've had a comment before on just how clean our go-karts look, and I always say that if you're maintaining them properly, then when things go wrong quicker than some others.
Yep, absolutely. It's also more of a... I kind of put it down as maybe it's a reflection of oneself as well, to a degree. Like you focus on all the little 1%ers that contribute to the greater good, if that makes sense. So, yeah, nice one, Pete. Keep them coming, listeners. See, questions like that, they always help. So. And,
MotoGP time.
Yeah, the Pecco show is skating on thin ice a little bit at the moment, let's just say. I've had my heart in my mouth now for the last 2 races, so it's a very, very interesting time in terms of how the momentum has swung so heavily with Jorge Martin in terms of he's getting a lot of points actually through the more through the sprint racing at the moment, whereas Pecco has largely caused some of his own issues with spills in the last two out of the last four Grand Prix, where he's actually spun the bike off his own accord and got himself into a bit of hot water. So this race was held in Motegi, and in typical Japanese fashion, the heavens opened up. We've got some highlights of that event, which only lasted for a half distance, so I don't know how we're going to find 5 quality events from that, but here they are.
Lights out, and we're underway here in Japan. Pecco Bagnaia missed the start again on the factory Ducati. Away well from pole position was Jorge Martin. Jack Miller's going to slot himself into second place. A good start again by Brad Binder. There's contact further down. That's Maverick Vinales and Johan Zarco. Vinales tumbles over in the gravel track. More overseas disaster for the factory Aprilia team, but Martin in position A. He leads Miller on the brakes for the first time in turn 3.
White flags already waving. Riders, if they want to, can come in at the end of this first lap to change bikes.
Is anybody going to come in? Who is going to come in?
Got to.
Spinner's in. They're all coming in. It's just not safe enough for slick tyres. Getting really, really close and scary on the run to pit lane. Nobody gambled. Everybody then sweeps into pit lane. Who did go through? Piero Quartararo, Bradle, Morbidelli and Crutchlow. The 3 Yamahas, they have rolled the dice. They have stayed out.
Martin then leads this group out of pit lane from Aleix Espargaro and Marc Marquez.
Unbelievable, isn't it? The rain falling just 5 minutes before the start of this Motegi Grand Prix. As it stands right now, Martin's gone in really hot. He's gone in hot at turn 3. He's going to lose a whole bunch of place. He certainly loses the lead. Through comes Aleix Espargaro. Through comes Marc Marquez. Bezzecchi Bagnaia picks him up as well. Miller through as well. Martin now under pressure from the Gian Antonio. So that mistake, the big mistake at turn 3 from Jorge Martin, drops him right back down the field. Now Digia, that's aggressive on the inside of Martin. Martin did drop back down to 6 or 7. He tries to top it out now with Gian Antonio through the high speed turn 6. That's brave, isn't it?
Here comes Martin then through on Jack Miller as he recovers from that excursion into turn 3. Our 3 title contenders are now line astern, 4th, 5th and 6th.
That was really tight. Martin has picked up Bezzecchi there coming through turn 9, and now he picks up the drive and just absolutely blasts past Marc Marquez. That's where the rain's at its worst, isn't it? In that 3rd sector. The grip, the edge grip and confidence that Martin had on the gas coming out of that tight hairpin curve. It was like Marquez was standing still. It was like they were in 2 completely different races. Martin up into the podium place in 3rd.
Martin now has a go at Pecco Bagnaia. This is for 2nd on the road as Martin goes through.
Martin again coming out of turn 11. It's like he's got a turbo button on that factory Ducati. Just again like he did with Marquez in the previous lap.
Jorge Martin is pulling clear as the rain starts to intensify again.
The drive grip that Martin has at 11 is astonishing. It's like he's in a different race. This could be a Honda home podium for Marc Marquez, which seemed highly unlikely in a full dry race. Look at the grip that he picks up compared to Bezzecchi. Marquez has to go to the right. He couldn't slipstream Bezzecchi there because he wouldn't have been able to have seen a thing with the vision problems with the spray issues. Marquez then into the podium places here. Marquez up to 3rd. Red flag. The red flag has come out due to the deteriorating weather conditions. The MotoGP race has been quite rightly stopped. The pit lane then will be open in a couple of seconds' time, and we've got hands up again here.
And the red flag has been waved, so perhaps there was a gesture there from the riders who weren't particularly happy with the conditions.
We might have
need to be stopped.
We might have to call this one, Lewis. Clearly the red flags are out again. Yeah, results declared. This one has been called then. Result declared here in Motegi. Full points awarded, owing to the fact that more than 50% of the race distance has been completed. And that is cue celebrations then for Prima Pramac Racing.
And he's now getting the news of his team. Jorge, you've won the Japanese Grand Prix.
Yeah, Bagnaia is being told as well to come to Parc Ferme. There are 3 points splitting Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin at the top of the World Championship. And Marc Marquez, we have to remind you, of course, he gets a first Grand Prix podium on a Sunday.
Jorge Martin goes back-to-back. He splashes his way to victory, and he closes to within 3 points of Pecco Bagnaia. It's game on in the World Championship.
you have it. A Japanese Grand Prix that was cruelly cut short because of Mother Nature and the weather. But Jorge Martin and the momentum does continue, and Pecco, well, he got second, which just gives that little bit of breathing space in the World Championship, but that gap has drastically closed. And Marc Marquez dragging the cumbersome Honda up into third position as well, which turned out to be his swan song for the Japanese mark and his final Japanese Grand Prix as a Honda rider, because the worst kept secret in MotoGP came to fruition during the week, and that was that Marc Marquez will become a Ducati rider as of 2024, riding for the Gresini team alongside his brother, I believe, as well. So Team Marquez in Ducati, and everyone's now on the Marquez's back train, and I think just put the brakes on, boys and girls, because there is no guarantee that the Ducati will suit a rider of his ability and calibre, because you just don't know. You look at Bastianini.
Well, he's ridden the Honda for so long, it's going to be an adjustment period. So even if he doesn't come out straight away, I do think that he's a gun rider. He'll adapt to the bike pretty quickly, but I don't think it's going to happen within the space of a couple of test sessions early on in the year. So yeah, I think it'll really show how good he is. Like, does he come out and start dominating, or being close to the front, battling it out again, or what? Has he sort of lost some of his edge with all those crashes and all those injuries?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I think I'm not sure whether he's actually going to be racing this year's bike or the new spec or the current spec bike. If it's the 2023 bike that he's going to be racing, well, he's got a weapon. So if he's not performing, there's no excuse.
Yeah,
really,
100%.
There's a side to me that kind of thinks, well, Honda have gradually gone backwards the longer he stayed there. Is it down to Honda not listening to him, or is it whether it's Marquez not being able to provide any technical input, and all he has to do is just plant his bum on a seat and just ride a bike? That's all the riders have developed for him. Mm-hmm. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how he goes. Is all I can say. And I heard a crazy rumour during the week that Jack Miller might replace him as in the rider as Honda. He's going to be leaving KTM, which would be bizarre if he was doing that.
Super, super bizarre.
Yeah.
But I had not read that rumour at all. But I thought, as far as Jack Miller was concerned, he was going to be seeing out his KTM contract next year, and that even the threat of Acosta coming in, that one of the KTM riders currently was going to have to lose their way, that was going to go the way of Pol Espargaro was actually going to lose his ride. So yeah, that's a strange one.
Well, what was his name? The rider you just mentioned has had a brain fade.
Pol Espargaro?
No, the other one. Acosta.
Pedro Acosta. Yep.
Yeah. Confirmed for Gas, which is the KTM rebadged bike for next year. So, which will be nice. That'll be subtly in the background. He'll just ply his trade quietly and get the Ks up. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who takes that second seat at Honda. Are they going to make Juan Mir the team leader?
Yeah, exactly right.
So,
and what are their other options? Like, there's not many other options out there.
No. So that's where all of a sudden there's smoke about the Jack Miller thing. Kind of think, well, maybe. But who knows? I'd be really surprised.
I think they'd have to offer him a lot of money.
Yeah, and a lot of airbags.
Well, and Jack is a clever operator. He'd know if they're coming looking for him that they need him more than he needs them, especially being in the position that Honda are in at the moment. So, if I was in Jack's position, I definitely wouldn't be going cheaply. That's for sure. Yeah.
Having said that, though, Honda look like they have slowly turned the corner a little bit in the last couple of races. Now, weather depending for this week, and they're in Japan for crying out loud, so if they don't perform there, then there's a massive problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They've finished 2 races. Even Mir's actually stayed on the bike for the last 2 events. Maybe they've just started to turn the corner a little bit.
New track and weather. I think if we take these 2 races out of in isolation, they're pretty random races. I don't think as a whole. I think. At the next race, we'll see a return to the usual form of Honda. Like you said, being in Japan, being in a wet track and an interrupted race as well, definitely helped them with the Motegi race, and then being a new track, it was more about who the rider and how the riders could adjust to the track more so than the bike, which I think played into Marquez's favour a little bit there as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Next Grand Prix, I'll be watching the TV screen, and all of a sudden there's a rider crash, there's a rider down. I'll wait, and all of a sudden 36 Joan Mir,
or Mark Marquez,
or Mark Marquez. We're back at it. So,
Pecco Bagnaia.
Don't, please. You've cursed him now. You know that, but. Having said that, he hasn't been the same rider since the massive accident at Barcelona. So I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or is it leg or something, but he has not been the same Pecco since the accident in Barcelona. So I don't know whether it's a confidence thing or not, but momentum's a wonderful thing, and if you've got it, and you've got it in spades, right now I would not be surprised if Jorge Martin comes out of the next Grand Prix as championship leader, as things stand.
He's only 3 points behind at the moment, so he's slashed that championship lead.
Big time.
Bezecchi's still in it as well, sort of another call it 60 points off of Bagnaia at the moment as well. So really it's them three that are in it. Bezecchi is sort of falling by the wayside as well. It's really becoming a two-horse race between Martin and Bagnaia, but it would be interesting. Yeah, I do agree. Martin has got the form going on him at the moment. He's got the drive, and the momentum will hopefully flow in his favour.
Just imagine if he was actually in the same team rather than riding the same bike. Which is, imagine the hostilities in that pit lane.
It'd be crazy.
Absolutely. But it's set up for a cracking crescendo and a cracking finale. So long may it go.
You've reached the checkered flag of another episode of Negative Camber the Motorsport Show, proudly brought to you by ProKarts Race Centre. A huge thank you to you, our incredible listeners. Your support and passion for motorsports fuels our enthusiasm to bring you the latest results, analysis, and interviews from the racing world. Keep that FOMO at bay by subscribing to Negative Camber on your favourite podcast platform. We'd also love it if you could leave us a review and share the show with your fellow racing enthusiasts. Your feedback and support mean the world to us. Remember, Negative Camber is more than just a podcast. We're a community of dedicated fans who live and breathe motorsports. Follow us on socials, join us on our website, negativecamber.co, and be sure to subscribe to the Negative Camber Club for access to exclusive content, episode previews, and special deals from our amazing partners. Until next time, stay fueled with passion, embrace the Negative Camber, and keep chasing those podium finishes.